Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Young here, and today I'm back in our Fortnite video, and in today's video I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks on how to play better in competitive Fortnite and Arena. I'm going to show you guys some of my best tips that I use in order to win a lot more games. And for the gameplay I'm using in the background, you guys definitely want to stay to the end of this video because I had a really crazy clutch in order to win this game, so you guys definitely want to see that. And right before we get into the video, if you guys could, make sure you guys drop a like in this video. It really does help me out. So make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as well turn on my notifications so you guys can get notified for every single new video. And alright guys, let's get right to the video. Alright, so at the beginning of this game, when it comes to landing location, there really isn't like a best landing location to use, because there's a lot of different locations around the map that you can land at that are going to be very good, and so it could be very different depending on where the bus route is, so there's a lot of options you can take when it comes to picking your landing location. But if you guys want to know the two landing locations that I land at when it comes to competitive Fortnite, the World Cup, Arena, anything like that, I usually do land at the racetracks, which I did land at in this gameplay right here, or land at the soccer fields, which are they're really close to Tilted Towers. So those are going to be my two spots when it comes to landing locations. Of course, there's a lot of different locations you can go to, like Dusty Divot, which I'm not sure exactly how many people go around there, but you do have mushrooms, so you can pick off a lot of shield, and as well, there are a lot of other places you can go to get shield as well. So there's a lot of locations that are really good to land at, so you just want to find what works best for you. And typically what I like to do, what I think is the best way to go about it, is really just to stay consistent when it comes to your landing location and rotations off of it. And that's one thing that I definitely think has helped me improve the most, just because I've been able to land at the same location, have another rotation, because there's a lot of times where you die in game and you really don't know exactly what you die to. Maybe it's a bad rotation, this or that, so you really want to pick your location, pick your rotation, be consistent with it, and then just try to figure out exactly what you need to work on, because a lot of times it isn't going to be the rotation itself that's messing you up, which it could be. That would go into my next tip that I think is very important. So if you do land at the edges of the map, if you do land at Tilted Tower, it's going to be very hard to win consistently because you're going to be dying off spawn a ton. But if you do land at the corners like I do, or at least off to the side a little bit, you do want to be cautious of the zone being too far away, and you don't want to rotate last minute, especially on the first or second zone. And really, I'm talking about the first zone. I've got screwed over so many times because in game modes like this, competitive game modes, there's going to be a lot of people left alive very late in the game. So that's something you have to be very cautious of. And with that being said, a lot of people are going to be staying alive and not a lot of people are going to be dying off spawn. So a lot of times the people are going to be landing at these far out locations. So if you wait way too late on the first zone to rotate in, you're going to get screwed over time and time again from having to fight in the storm, because there's going to be 2 or 3 teams coming out of the zone because they rotate way too late as well. And on top of that, you're going to have teams right outside the zone that are going to be waiting for picks, and overall it's just going to be a mess. There's going to be at least 3 to 5 teams right at the edge of the zone after the first circle, so that's just a place you want to avoid as much as possible. So if you do land at the edges like I do in every single game, I typically try to rotate inwards with at least a good 30-second buffer or something like that, so I don't have to get screwed over time and time again just from rotating late. In the second I get inside the zone right next to the edge of the circle, there's going to be 3 to 5 teams just sitting there all spraying me at the exact same time. It's just going to be a mess. Unless I have a launch pad or a rift or maybe some shadow bombs, I'm going to be stuck there and it's just going to be a bad fight, and chances are the zone's going to be across the map again, so you're really just in the worst possible spot. And the chances of you really doing anything from that position, except for just losing a bunch of mats and a bunch of HP, ammo, and all the above, is really going to be pretty low. There's not going to be a ton that you can do other than kind of just wait it out maybe and then try to get a third party or just try to get any sort of picks that you can. Otherwise, I mean, you're really just nothing you can do there. So the best way to counter that is really just to rotate much earlier. Give yourself a little bit of time just in case, or depending how far the zone is. If you're already in the zone, then you should be straight as long as you're not next to the edge. On the first zone, I would always recommend you guys always trying to go towards the middle of the zone as possible, so you don't get screwed over with people pinching you from inside the zone or pinching you being on the edge of the circle. So in the first zone and even the second zone, always try to rotate as early as possible. Of course, in the first zone, you want to make sure you get enough materials, get enough HP and everything like that, so you can actually fight the teams that you're running into. But the first and second zone, you always want to rotate as early as you can. And when it comes to those later zones, I always try to recommend rotating as late as possible. And the reason being, on those late zones, when the zone's very small, everyone's going to be boxed up looking for picks, looking to get shots on you. So what you want to do every single time, in my opinion, is to wait till the zone starts coming in before you rotate. And the reason being is, if you rotate late, most of the time people are going to be shooting at people who are already rotating, so it's not going to screw you over as bad. Of course, you still have a chance of getting shot at and everything like that, but it's really going to give you the best chance of not getting shot or sprayed out of the sky time and time again. Because if you really just think about it, if you rotate early on the next zone, when it comes to those late circles, the late zones, what happens pretty much every single time, so you're going to pop the rift, you're going to pop the launch pad, and you're going to have at least 5 to 6 teams constantly spraying at you, shooting you out of the sky, versus if you rotate just a little bit later when the zone just starts coming in, buys you a little bit more time. You rotate and maybe only 3 teams are shooting at you, 2 teams are shooting at you, just because you rotate a little bit later, so other teams are going to be rotating as well, and they're not going to be focused on the edge of the zone. So that's why you always want to rotate a little bit later on those later zones and earlier on the first zones. I think that's one of the best tips I can give you guys when it comes to rotation wise, and that's just a guide that you want to follow time and time again. I really don't think there's that many exceptions. Even this doesn't even really matter where the zone is. I'm always going to rotate early in the first few zones, and on those later zones I'm always going to rotate late, just because I think it's the best option. And of course, if you do find a ton of mats here in the late zone and you have enough to branch out, of course you might want to branch out, take the extra mats, branch out, so you can get closer to the zone. But when you actually want to go and rotate all the way across, you want to rotate a lot later, so you don't get screwed over from 7 or 8 teams all shooting at you the exact same time. So launch pads are something that I want to talk about, just because I think they're really important for rotating, but at the exact same time, it might not be the best thing to use and to rotate with, because using the launch pad can be very good from getting one side of the map to the other, while not also using a lot of your materials. And also at the same time, when you're using the launch pad, you are vulnerable to getting shot, and that's exactly what happened here. And before, I'm getting shot at by so many teams. Luckily, I didn't get tagged. I got away with 5 HP, and look at all the shots next to me. I have no idea how any of them hit. But more times than likely, you're going to get hit by a lot of those shots. So when you're using the launch pad, you have to be very careful about it, because a lot of the times you're going to get shot at from so many different teams. And when you're using the launch pad, you want to make sure that you're able to pull out your glider really late, because if you're pulling out your glider way too early on the launch pad, you're going to be gliding down slowly and you're going to get completely beamed from every single team, and there's going to be nothing you can do, and the chances of you winning that fight are going to be very low, and you're probably going to end up dying even before you hit the ground. So that's just something you want to avoid. And if you're using the launch pad, you either want to use it to go get high ground, or use it in a way so when you pull out your glider, you're pretty low to the ground, so you're not going to get beamed from every single team. But of course, the best movement to have is going to be rifts, because rifts, you're all the way up in the sky, you can pretty much have whatever position you want. And on top of that, smoke grenades are also very effective, and something that I recommend keeping in your inventory to rotate, because they're so effective, they're super good to use, and it's just almost nearly impossible for other people to see you while you're using it. And if you're rotating using the shadow bombs, more people are going to be looking to shoot at the person who they're able to see, rather than try to track someone who's very difficult to see running and jumping all the way around. So even if they do see you in a shadow bomb when you're rotating, more than likely they're not even going to shoot at you. They're just going to be looking at the easiest target to shoot. Because even if they get one tag on you, that's going to be wasting their time, because they're not going to be able to knock you. It's really just going to be a big inconvenience and a waste of time. And also, another really good strategy you can use is using a lot of metal in the end game, and the reason being is not only that metal is a lot stronger to use, other than that, a lot of people are just going to be using wood. So especially in the late game, after you get the kill on that player, you're only going to pick up like 100 wood from that player, if maybe only 50 if they have 0, which most people do. And you're going to find that they're going to have max steel, because steel is the last material in your slot, so most people are going to be going wood, brick, and then steel. But if you're always using steel in the late game, every time you get a kill, I guarantee you're going to be maxing out your steel every single fight, because everyone's going to be using wood, and wood's going to be the one material that you're not going to have any of. So that's something you always want to keep in mind when you're going for materials, or want to have a lot of mats in the end game or even mid game. If you just use a lot of your steel, a lot of the times the people you kill are going to be killing are going to have a lot of steel as well. Steel really isn't that hard to get, especially now. Tilts is full of steel, retail's full of steel, a lot more builds are going to be full of steel, so a lot of people are going to have max steel, but they're going to be using wood. So if you're constantly using steel, then a lot of the times you're going to be having max materials constantly, because you're always going to be picking up steel from the other player while not using any of your wood. And with that being said, that's wrap it up for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys liked it. And if you guys could, drop a like on this video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on my notifications so you guys are notified for every single new video. And alright guys, I'll see you next video.